Welcome to another edition of the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. This is the Sports Web post-game show live from the Tan Talk Sports Studios. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose a heartbreaker to the Atlanta Falcons, 34-29. Thanks a lot for joining me. It was a bad game. Honestly, you could take some good things out of it. Jameis Winston, you look at his statistics, 30 for 41, 395 yards and 4 touchdowns. Unfortunately, 2 interceptions that were key, took points off the board. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say this is all on Jameis Winston. Of course, you can see when your defense gives up that many points, but we knew it was coming. We knew that the Atlanta Falcons needed this win. They had to have this win, and they showed it on Sunday. And, those 2 turnovers didn't help, especially when you're trying to force a pass to Deshaun Jackson and double coverage. Clearly, you can see that there's a safety over the top. It's an ill-advised throw. And then the throw that he makes in the red zone really hurts you because not only does it take points off the board, but it gives the Falcons the ball, of course. And on the replay, I watched the play again. Adam Humphries was open. That's your read. Instead of trying to force it to Chris Godwin at this point, you could have went to Adam Humphries, and you don't do it. So it's disappointing. We're live here on Bucs Report. Like I said, they fall in a heartbreaking. I mean, a lot of people talk about the last play of the game, and you could easily talk about that, but you wish it wouldn't come down to that. And that leads me to my point, not only the turnovers, but also the fact of the defense being soft. And we talk about it in the first half. We talk about it throughout the game. How many times does Mike Smith have corners that are 5 or 10 yards off the receiver? And what happens for results of that? Receivers are getting wide open. That tells me something. This is what it tells me, ladies and gentlemen, that the defensive coaching staff doesn't believe in their corners. Because if they did, they would do what they did in the second half. And they made adjustments. Give them credit. They made adjustments to keep them in the game. No doubt. But at the end of the day, you have to do that the whole game. And this is the result. 10 catches, 143 yards, no touchdowns. Julio Jones once again kept out of the end zone. But it's those type of defensive calls where receivers are getting wide open. And when the announcing crew can see it, and the fans out there in Bucs Report land can see it, and I can see it, and it keeps on happening, something has to change at this point. And I don't know if it's going to. And it's really disappointing. What's up, Johnny? How you doing? Fired the whole staff, Corey says. Elijah, go Buccaneers. As we're live on Bucs Report, I'm your host, Peter Blake of the Sports Web, the only FM sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area on Saturday afternoons, so 3 to 6 on WTAN, 106.1 FM, and 1340 AM. We call it the evolution of sports talk radio. We give you your own welcome music. We'll let you call in twice, and we don't hang up on you like those other sports talk shows do. So getting back to the point, they made adjustments in the second half. They were down 24-13, but here's a perfect example, right, guys? When the Buccaneers are down 21-13, what happens? Atlanta gets back the ball. What does Mike Smith and this defensive crew do? They decide to play off. Well, it only takes, 3 or 4 plays for the Falcons to put up a field goal? You can't have that happen. And I don't understand what the defense is at this point. I think in the fourth quarter to Hedo Smith, I don't think the linebackers did either. And what happens? Communication. So we've talked about it before with communication. On top of it, we've also talked about consistent pass rush. Besides JPP, who else is in there today? Right, exactly. JPP. And here's the numbers. 31 for 41 for Matt Ryan, 354 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he started out the game hot. In fact, I don't even think he missed a pass. I think he had the first 11 to 12 passes were complete. I mean, that just can't happen. I get it. Matt Ryan's a good quarterback, but you got to put pressure on him consistently. And if you don't, you pay the price. That's what they did today. So is it going to change at this point? We'll see. You got Cleveland next week. You got to go 3-3. You have an opportunity to go 3-3. The Carolina Panthers lose today. Atlanta wins today, but they're 2-4. The New Orleans Saints right now, you already beat them, but now they're getting hot at the right time. So what's going on, Bucs Report? Lids from St. Pete and also RatPackSports.com. We're live here on Bucs Report, live from the Tan Talk Sports Studios. I'm your host, Peter Blake. So, yeah, 11 for 11, exactly. That was a good thing, though, and Mitchell brings up a good point. There were some flashes of brilliance by Peyton Barber. In fact, the first drive, a 28-yard run to get them started. You could see when Barber gets the ball that he can make things happen, right? I mean, look at his statistics. 13 carries for 82 yards, but it's only 13 carries. You look at the run-pass differential, you've got 41 times for Winston throwing the ball, and I get it, they're down in this game. But you got to run the ball. You have to stay committed. There were a lot of good things that came out of this game. Adam Humphries played well. I thought, again, the defense made the necessary adjustments in the second half. But why in the world does it take so long for this team to get started? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. In fact, they did the right thing the first drive, scoring a touchdown, and then, again, you get down 21-6. And then you have to – I don't understand it. It's a must-win for the Atlanta Falcons. They have Julio Jones. They have Calvin Ridley. They have Mohamed Sanu. And you know what? They lost Mohamed Sanu and Calvin Ridley, and still Matt Ryan was still able to go over 300 yards. So the Buccaneer defense has a lot of work to do. But I think it comes down to the confidence of the coaching staff. Mike Smith, do you have confidence in these corners? Because if you really do have confidence, then tell me, why are you playing off coverage? Why? What happens when you're aggressive? What happens when you get up on that receiver and you press him? What happens when you bracket Julio Jones? What happens when you bring the blitz? A lot of good things. That happened in the second half. Why can't it happen in the first half? Do they not believe in these kids? Ryan Smith had a terrible game. Just a terrible game. Absolutely terrible game. But you know what? Ryan Smith is he is what he is at this point. I mean, that's why you drafted Carlton Davis. And Carlton Davis didn't play today. So Carlton Smith. I'm sorry, Carlton Davis. Carlton Smith. So let's go ahead, go out to Bucs Report here. Text line, defense, the end. Red zone decision-making, same as last year. Yeah, pretty much. Absolutely. What happened to the supposed revamped D-line? Well, that's a great question. It's a great question, Kyle. You see JPP. I guess Vita Vea is getting into shape at this point. He showed a little bit today. What happened to Gerald McCoy? He got hurt later on in the game, but, you know, you see flashes of him. I'm really sick of this excuses. You know, the excuses got to go. I mean, it's time to be accountable, especially this defense. They have to be accountable. They really do. Hire Peter H. Blake as the Bucs' new head coach. Corey, I think you're crazy, but what's up, John? How you doing? Ed Clark, entire coaching staff should have prepared for this divisional game, especially after a bye week. No excuses for this. Absolutely. That first half, you get down 24-13 and go back to the 3 points that you give up. It almost seems like last year when you play the Buffalo Bills, right? You get the score from Jameis Winston leads the Bucs down. You take the lead, and then your defense gives it up in 3 plays. Same thing happened on Sunday. You get the touchdown. You have the momentum. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. Football is about momentum, and they had it going into halftime. But what happens? The defense plays back. They play soft. You play conservative football, you lose. You play prevent defense, you prevent yourself from winning. That's just all it's to it. All right, let's see here. Bucs are known to have slow starts. Been watching them my whole life. Me too, Mitchell. Absolutely. They have slow starts. Absolutely. Some stupid throws. I definitely think he had some throws that were not good today. Again, 30 for 41, 395 yards, 4 touchdowns, but the 2 key interceptions, and the one that really hurts you is the one that's in the red zone. It hurts. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it. Let's see. Johnny says, I'm just disgusted. This franchise was built on defense. Leroy's turning over in his grave right now. I talked about it last week. This team is built upon defense. And the second half, they showed some of what they can be. But again, you can't lose containment on Matt Ryan and let him get a first down. That's a containment play you miss out on. You can't let Julio Jones or whoever else was out there after Sanu and Ridley go out to go wide open. Austin Hooper looked like Tony Gonzalez today. Austin Hooper's a good player, but he's not a great player. But you let him have the spacing. You let him have it. I don't understand it. There's no physicality with this defense at all. It's disappointing. It really is. Let's see. No excuses. A divisional game. Absolutely right. Let's see here. Winston's deep throws are awful. That's another one. That's another thing that you missed in the game. And a lot of people said who I was watching this Buccaneer game with, Ryan Fitzpatrick makes that deep throw to Deshaun Jackson. I can't disagree. What do we talk about coming into the season? Jameis Winston has to prove on two facets of his game. Number one, protection of the ball. 2 interceptions, didn't do it today. Number 2, deep passes, wasn't there today. So that missed. Let's see here. DeTwan Thomas, never trust any coordinators from Atlanta. Bucs organization can be better than this. They can absolutely be better than this. Somebody saying fire the water boy. Very funny, Corey. Throws into double coverage too much. Missed kicks. Also, that's another thing. Because it may not seem like a big deal, right, guys? But it is a big deal. You know why? Because Canton Zero has to kick that extra point. You know why? Because you're behind the 8 ball. And then what you have to do is go for the 2-point conversion. You can't miss those type of opportunities. And if you thought that when Atlanta went down on that last drive, that Matt Bryant wasn't going to kick that 57-yard field goal, I have to remind you in 2006 that Matt Bryant kicked a 62-yard field goal to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the curse of the kickers. The worst thing that the Bucs ever did as an organization is get rid of Matt Bryant. He's been the curse of the kickers. He's like the Doug Williams curse. If you don't know what you're watching right now, it's the Sports Web post-game show live on Bucs Report. Of course, the only FM sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area on Saturday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 106.1 FM and 1340 AM. Let's take some more questions. You're absolutely right. Missed kicks, interceptions killed the game. If Matt Ryan runs, are you then there's a problem? There is a problem. The problem is losing containment. That's the problem. Jameis has no chemistry with Deshaun. He hasn't since Deshaun got picked up as a free agent. You got to develop it. I get it. He's missed some games, but you got to put that together because Deshaun Jackson can be a weapon. And you go back to the last play of the game, the ball doesn't bounce right because if it does, guess what? We're talking about something different. We're talking about the miracle in Atlanta, but it wasn't to be. Do I like that play? I mean, I don't think you have a choice. I mean, it's either you go to the end zone and throw something up where Julio Jones is, or you do something razzle-dazzle, and it nearly worked out. Just didn't bounce their way today. It was disappointing. When is the secondary going to step up? When are they going to start putting pressure on the quarterback? I don't know. I mean, we've been talking about this the last couple of years, guys. I mean, we talk about it over and over and over again. I talk about it on the radio show on Saturday afternoons. We talk about it with our Facebook posts. We talk about it all the time. When does it change? When does somebody become accountable? Besides 2016 and the 5-game win streak when the defense was only giving up 9 points a game. This defense has been soft. It has to get better. Cleveland is not going to come in here and lay down. They got Baker Mayfield. It's a rookie quarterback. He's going to be mobile, so you're going to have to keep containment. On the defensive side, you're going to have to watch out for Myles Garrett. I think they did a pretty good job today. I think Winston had some situations where he was actually under pressure and made something out of nothing. But you got to be better against Myles Garrett. And if you let Myles Garrett go one-on-one with DeMar Dotson or whatever offensive tackle you're throwing out there, you're wrong. So let's see. Yeah, Winston had a great day fantasy-wise, but he missed some throws. And, again, those 2 key interceptions. You just can't have it happen. T-balls are always the problem. Absolutely. He had a great day in the pocket, but he definitely throws. Let's see. Should have gone after Eric Reed when he was available. That's a big miss. Well, they went with what they have. I mean, there's one play today that really upset me, and Chris Spillman points it out. He can point it out so well, right? He's played linebacker for the Detroit Lions, so he knows. So, again, if he can see it, everybody else can see it. But they have a 3rd and 9. They look like they're going to put a safety to blitz. What do? Back up. But all those defenders that are backing up, they're not by the sticks. So you're allowing a receiver to get free release and get in there and get that 9 yards. What are you thinking? I mean, what are you really thinking at this point? Call Grammatica immediately. I don't think he's available at this point. Rex Ryan, Bucs' new D coordinator. I'm not sure if he is going to – I mean, you're going to have to change it all around to a 3-4 defense. Let's see. What else? It is an issue. It's been an issue. Deshaun has been an issue with Jameis. There's always been an issue. There was an issue last year. There was an issue because Winston was kind of trying to throw the ball, force the ball to Deshaun Jackson. Maybe he was trying to do it today. But, look, we talked about it before. Jameis Winston is a quarterback that can give you 395 yards and 4 touchdowns. But he's also a quarterback that's going to throw 2 interceptions. But, again, is this all on the offense? Absolutely not. It's on the defense. You can't have the defense giving up that many points. You can't have the defense not getting pressure on the quarterback. You can't have a defense playing 5, 10. They could have played 15, 20 yards. You might as well. If a receiver's going to get that open, then what are we doing? I don't understand it. So, let's see. Let's see here. Let's go out to Bucs Report again. I will miss extra points for 100K. Yeah, exactly. I blame the D. Well, this is all kinds of questions right now. So I'm just going to go through some of these. Can you get your shine box Mike Smith? I think there's a lot of fans that feel like that at this point. And if you don't know what you're watching the post-game show live here from the Tan Talk Sports Studios. I'm your host, Peter Blake of the Sports Web from 3 to 6 on WTAN. 106.1 FM at 1340 AM. Any word on McCoy? Can't lose him. I don't know. It looked like a serious injury. Hopefully it's not bad. But you know what? If McCoy goes out, it would be a nice opportunity to see Vita Vea and Bo Allen. I would like to see that. I would like to see what the kid has. So I'm hoping he's not hurt. I think you're a better team with McCoy, but I just haven't seen enough from McCoy this year to say, you know what, that's a huge loss. Maybe I'm wrong. Laugh out loud, soft. How about absolute garbage? I mean, the second half, they played a little bit better, didn't they? I mean, they had some stops. They gave the offense back the ball. It wasn't like a couple weeks ago when you gave up over 40 points before halftime. Opposing receivers are wide open. That gives the quarterback easy access to get rid of the ball. Check stats on how long the line has to get to the quarterback. Exactly. I mean, Johnny, we talk about this every week. You know, if you give a quarterback more than 3 to 5 seconds to throw the ball, he's going to kill you. Matt Ryan's the guy that's going to do it. He's one of the top upper echelon quarterbacks in the league. Let's see. Somebody says, Ruben says, stop hating. Jameis had a good day. If it was Fitch, you would say it deflected. The receiver didn't fight for the ball. Have one set of standards. I stand with Jameis. Look, I think he had a good day. I mean, 30 for 41, 395 yards. But I'm not going to sit here and have rose-colored glasses on or pewter glasses on and say they didn't make mistakes. Ruben, I don't know what game he watched, but he turned over the ball twice. The one in the end zone cost him. Watch the replay. Adam Humphries is wide open. You got to check down to Adam Humphries. I'm going to be fair about this. Sorry. I'm a Winston fan, but it's not like I didn't watch the game. So I feel like the defensive players are not comfortable with Mike Smith's soft defensive coverage. Who is? I mean, what does that tell you? If something is not, if you're doing something over and over and over again, what is that? Insanity. McCoy's getting soft. I'm sorry. I don't see enough of him. Not sure Mike Smith has any idea what Joe's defense identity is. I don't know what it is either. What's their identity at this point? Nasir showed a little something, I think. Yeah, he showed something. He got his hands up in a couple plays, got a good couple of pass rushes, but just not consistent enough. Not consistent enough. Let's see. Where is everybody listening from? I saw Fitz would have won this game by 10 points. I mean, maybe he completes that pass to Deshaun Jackson. You know, I don't like to deal with that. I don't like to say a quarterback. What I can say is, does Fitzpatrick most likely complete that pass to Deshaun Jackson? Yeah, he does. And that's one of the things that Jameis Winston has to work on. Sorry. I don't believe Quan is a linebacker that is deserving of a huge contract so far. Well, in the game, he had 10 tackles, so he wasn't bad, but I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if it's defensive system or what. Are the defensive backs that bad, or is it the scheme itself? Well, I guess ask Mike Smith, because if you trust what Mike Smith puts out there on film, you would think that the defensive backs are not that good. Yet, what do we see in the second half? We see more of improvement. Why? Because the defensive back is able to get in the receiver's face. So by going on what Mike Smith and this defensive organization has put out there, then do they really have that much confidence in the defensive backs? Not in the first half. Winston's biggest issue is he cannot throw an accurate deep ball. I mean, again, it goes back to what we talked about. He has to improve on the deep ball passing. He has to. What's going on? Go Bucs all the way from Sin City. Thanks a lot for tuning in on Bucs Report. No one on our defense can be consistent in this scheme. I think JPP was pretty consistent. He has 5 sacks. Just not enough pressure. Just not enough. I saw today, JPP was getting double teamed, split the double team. So when everybody says Gerald McCoy is getting double and triple team, you have to get that penetration. Didn't see enough of that today. You've seen it a couple times. It's just not consistent enough. It's just not. It's just not consistent enough. Is JPP hurt? I don't think he is, but is he a little banged up? I think every football player at this point is a little banged up. Go Bucs from Indiana. Thanks a lot, Michael, for tuning into the Sports Web Bucs Report post-game show live from the Tan Talk Sports Studios. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Bucs should trade for Patrick Peterson. We are desperate. Are we? Are we going to give up a first-round pick? I mean, I guess you could see it. Is Peterson on the trading block? And is Arizona going to give him up for less than 2 first-round picks or first-round pick? I don't know if they're going to do that. See you in Cincinnati. Thanks a lot for tuning in. So going back to this, 24-13 at halftime. Adam Humphries had a good day. He had a long play. We're going to get waxed by the Browns. I don't know if you're going to get waxed by the Browns. I think the Browns had a tough day today. The Bucs have an opportunity, okay? The season's not over. Is it disappointing because you feel like they could have won this game? Absolutely. They had some missed opportunities. They settled for some field goals. Again, you had turnovers. You had defense playing soft. Again, you can't miss opportunities. Peter, you laugh at me, but there's been a notable drop-off from when Conte was out there getting those rookies in the proper place, calling the play. His play itself sucked, but he made a difference. I don't know. I still see safeties out of position. I also see safeties backing up. The play that really bugs you and the play that basically signifies this defense overall is the play late in the fourth quarter when they get that touchdown. It's before the field goal when the Bucs get back the ball. It looks like before the play there's confusion. It looks like there's no communication. At that point, doesn't your coaching staff have the responsibility to, if they're looking at that, and Mike Smith is looking at that in the box, maybe call a timeout? But, you go into that third down, how does somebody not know where they're at? And then what happens is that confusion leads to a running back getting the swing pass and going in for a touchdown. You could see it from a mile away before the play starts. There's confusion. And again, we talked about it. We talked about it over and over and over again. So I don't know if it's Chris Conte. I don't know. Can we pick up a power back? I think you got that. And Peyton Barber, you're just not able to use him at times because you get down early. So you have to throw the ball. But I like Peyton Barber, how he played today. He didn't get 100 yards, but he had a lot of big runs. He had that key run in the first drive for 28 yards. He showed you a little bit of flash. I like Peyton Barber. I just don't think they use him enough. 13 times, 13 carries is not enough. Not enough. Feed that guy the rock, but you're getting down early in games. You have to change your game plan. Arizona's taking offers. Well, they could take offers, but it's still going to cost you some picks. Let's see. I just don't understand why the Bucs don't concentrate on the division games. Just win them. Study all the film you can. Set up. They have win a division, get a playoff spot. Joe, it's an absolutely great point. You have 2 weeks to prepare for the Atlanta Falcons, and yet you come out and get a touchdown, and then your defense basically plays soft, and they don't get enough pressure. I don't know. Should we start trading our proven veterans for draft picks to rebuild this team? It seems like we're watching an expansion team every season. Ed, I'm not sure if they're an expansion team. They lost a game today, 34-29, and the effort's not there in the first half. They make the necessary adjustments in the second half. They're just not getting it done. I don't think they're an expansion team, but they're, good teams find ways to win games. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons are a good team, but they were desperate for a win today, and they're going to take advantage of those opportunities that the Bucs missed. So I don't think this team is there yet. They're 2-3. They have an opportunity. They beat the Browns. They're 3-3. It's a winnable game. It really is. Give them Quan to pick for Peterson. I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't think Arizona is going to take Quan Alexander because he's going to be a free agent. So you would have to get him signed. I don't see that happening. You could tell Mike Smith is only worried about giving up the big play. He's okay with throwing underneath routes. He just doesn't want to get beat deep, and that's what's killing us. Yes, because, look, if you're playing 10 to 15 yards off or even 5 yards off, the receiver, the quarterback, like a Matt Ryan, can see that. So they're going to expose that. Clear play, Calvin Ridley. You see Brent Grimes playing off about 5 to 10 yards. What does he do? Is he going down on the streak? No. You know why you're playing back? Because exactly, you're playing for the deep play. So what do? They do the underneath route, and the guy catches the ball for about 10 to 12 yards. And that's what happens. Have you noticed that our defensive coordinator never makes adjustments in the first half? He only makes adjustments at halftime. Yes, I have. And that's disappointing. That's really disappointing because, look, when you're down 24-13 at halftime, again, the game plan changes. Everything changes. You get desperate. You become one-dimensional, and that's exactly what the other team wants you to do, and that's what happened today. Yep, too many long drives. I'll tell you another thing here. The one thing that I didn't like about some of the game plan today, when they ran Peyton Barber instead of running him inside, because, look, you have a defense that's very fast. I mean, they were missing guys today, and that's the point. You have Grady Jarrett, who's out of this game as a defensive tackle. You have Deion Jones that patrols that middle. You're missing those two safeties. Why aren't you running the ball inside instead of running the ball on the outside to the perimeter? Doesn't make any sense. And then on top of it, if you have a fast defense, why aren't we seeing more screens to the running backs? Why aren't you seeing more Peyton Barber or Ronald Jones? And you've seen Jones today catch a couple of passes, which was encouraging, but you like to see more of that. Cards need wide receivers. Trade Deshaun and a pick for Peterson. Keith, that's risky because I think Deshaun Jackson, when used properly, can be a weapon in this team. He really can. He can be a weapon on this team, but I don't know. I don't make that trade at this point. Does Patrick Peterson help this team out? I mean, if you're playing him off, does he really help? You play him one-on-one coverage, but you play him press coverage. I mean, I don't know who have you put in this team at this point. Does Mike Smith and the defensive staff have enough confidence? First half should tell you everything about how much confidence they have. How do we beat the Browns? It's easy. You can't turn over the ball. You have to have balance to your offense. You have to contain Baker Mayfield. And then on the offensive side of the ball, you have to contain Myles Garrett. I think you can beat them. I think they're a beatable team, obviously. But the Browns' defense has improved. They got waxed today, but they're improved. Any given Sunday, I guess. Not Deshaun, but we have receivers for them. I'm not going to trade Chris Godwin. I wouldn't even look to trade Deshaun at this point, but I don't know. I think you're desperate. If Patrick Peterson is there, you definitely have to kick those tires. As a fan, I look at two key factors. Number one, preparation. Correct. Good job, Deshaun. And capitalizing after the bye week. Tampa should be steps ahead, not looking back and digging themselves deep. Exactly. I mean, that's the key. I mean, you get behind like that, and then it just changes your game plan. It really does. Deshaun cannot be a weapon with Winston at quarterback. I think there's some valid point to that, and the point is that if you have a quarterback that's not consistent enough to complete the deep pass, then yes, Deshaun is not a weapon. But again, this offensive coordinator, Todd Monken and Dirk Cutter, whoever's calling the plays, look like Todd Monken at some points, look like Dirk Cutter. You got to find ways to get Deshaun Jackson the ball in space. And I think if you can't hit him deep, then you have to hit him over the middle. You have to do rub routes. You have to do things because if the defense is giving you the middle, and again, with all the injuries that you have with Deion Jones and Grady Jarrett and both of those safeties out, why wasn't that more used? Well, why aren't slants in this offense? I don't understand it. Peterson is a leader and a teacher on the field. I agree with that. It is risky, but Deshaun isn't happy. And like everyone said, Winston and his chemistry are bad. I agree with you, Keith. It is. The funny thing is, early career, Deshaun would catch short passes and take it to the house, which is Winston's strength. So then if that is true, and we know it's true as football fans, then why does this offensive coordinator and this offensive staff, why aren't they having plays designed for Deshaun Jackson? I don't know. I think it's scheme too. I definitely think it's scheme. I think the scheme is bad. I don't like the scheme. I think it's soft. Look, if you have to simplify it, fine. Simplify it, communication. I mean, we've talked about this the last couple years. Something has to change. Is it the defensive coordinator? I don't know. Coaching staff has gone into the season. Absolutely, they are. It's completely. I mean, this is the year. This is the year where you have to prove it. There can be no excuses. The Bucs as an organization have invested so much money. We talked about at the beginning of the season with the line, with drafting Vita Vea, with drafting picking up JPP, with getting Vinny Curry, with getting Bo Allen. It's not working. Why doesn't Smith use man coverage? Javon, I just don't think he believes in these players. Because if you're telling me that this works for you by playing off coverage, where? Where did it work today? When has it ever worked? How many teams run a lot of off coverage? How many teams are backing up their safety or backing up their linebacker to play that Tampa 2 defense? How many teams are doing that in the NFL? Seems kind of archaic, doesn't it? Kind of need to, I don't know, fast forward a little bit. Ownership needs to change. I don't think that's going to happen. We were supposed to, at very least, win this division. It's still a possibility. You just have to clean it up. Division's wide open. I mean, New Orleans right now is the team to beat, and we all know what happened the first game. Let's see. Cutter and staff would have been gone before 2018. The Glazers were able to get John Gruden back, but Gruden had no interest, thank goodness. Well, the reason why he didn't have the interest in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, is easy, because they weren't willing to pay him $10 million a year like the Oakland Raiders were. Can you blame John Gruden for choosing the Raiders? But honestly, do you think John Gruden would have been the answer to this team? Or do you think he would have been the answer? Because if he's the answer, then somebody needs to change the question, because the Raider fans are wondering if he's the answer. How does a guy that's a coach that is a Monday Night Football analyst figure that it's important or that it's that you get rid of a player like Khalil Mack. How is that possible? How do you not pay that guy when he's absolutely consistent? He's a pass rusher in his prime, and you get rid of him because you don't want to pay him. You get 2 first-round picks. Congratulations. Great. Hopefully you do a good job in picking. And don't tell me it wasn't John Gruden that made that decision. It was. He's a player personnel guy. The only way I would have had John Gruden as the coach for the Bucs is if he keeps his hands out of the cookie jar and being a player personnel guy. Let's see. They're more interested in Manchester United. I'm not sure. I think the Glazers have spent and invested a lot of money. It just comes down to making the right moves at this point. And I think it also comes down to coaching. Why did we draft Ronald Jones? Great question, Byron, at this point. I don't know. He looks, I think he had 1 carry today for 3 yards. They were running with Peyton Barber. I don't know. I think the kid has definitely gotten a reality check, what the NFL is all about. You had that space in college running against Pac-12 teams. You don't have it in the NFL. He looks timid. He's got to get consistent with catching ability because, like Leo Haggerty says, you have to catch the ball. You have to be a 3-down back. And in order to be a 3-down back and stay on the field, you have to catch the ball consistently. You have to run with vision and patience, and you have to be a guy that's willing to put your shoulder pads down. And Jones doesn't show that consistently. Peyton Barber does, and that's why Barber starts. Let's see. You choose Chucky is a joke. Look at the Raiders 1-5, and just one player has made the difference. How bad is that defense without Khalil Mack? And how good is that defense for the Chicago Bears? Yet they lose to the Miami Dolphins today. All right, so Smith needs to go. Smith needs to play Davis, Whitehead, Stewart. Strengths are not what he wants. Agreed. That's part of coaching. You know, simple coaching analogy, right? Joe Montana. Quarterback drafted out of the 3rd round from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Not a great arm. Can't throw deep. What does Bill Walsh do? Why is he one of the greatest coaches? Because he comes up with the West Coast offense. Why? Because it's a dink and dunk offense. You take advantage of the strengths and the weaknesses of your player. You identify those as a coach. That's what great coaches do. This coaching staff is not great with that, and they got to improve on it. So Tampa Bay loses 34-29 to the Atlanta Falcons in a heartbreaking win. Missed opportunities, turnovers, soft defense. You know, again, Matt Ryan, 31 for 41, 354 yards, 3 touchdowns. Julio Jones, 10 passes, 143 yards, yet doesn't have a touchdown, doesn't have deep plays, but again, just killing you with those intermediate passes. Manchester United is what's funding our Bucs. Absolutely. C, the Glazers will look for another Gruden to coach again. They need a football guy in the head office. I think Jason Light's done a fair job, but again, I think you could be critical with some of the draft picks. Roberto Aguirre didn't work out. You didn't draft a corner. I mean, you could go back. You didn't draft a safety. You could go back and look at the misses here. And Whitehead may be something eventually. It's going to take some time. You know, the kid out of Auburn, Carlton Smith is going to be something, I think, eventually. He's hurt right now. He's got a groin and a back injury. That's disappointing. That's going to be a lingering thing, and I think they plan to play him. He replaced Ryan. Well, Ryan Smith replaced him today. I think that's why they were looking to draft him, because he's physical. So if we fire all the coaches, who do we bring in to hit the reset button? That's a great question. I think, honestly, if I had my choice right now, Bucs Report, and again, I'm the host of the Sports Web from 3 to 6, the only FM sports talk show. I'm Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. If I had my choice and this all goes downhill at this point, it would be Jim Harbaugh. And I'll tell you why. His relationship with Jameis Winston, the way that he's turned quarterbacks into superstars to a certain degree. Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick, 3 straight NFC championships, offensive pedigree, a kick-ass coach. He's got results. Is he going to leave Michigan? You're going to have to pay him a lot of money. but that would be my choice at this point. Let's see. Do we agree that Cutter basically gave us his job by not being willing to get rid of Smith? He's going down with the sinking ship. I think he has a relationship with Smith. He still believes. And look, I met Mike Smith. He's a nice guy. But you got to change your defense up, and you got to play to those strengths of your players. And if those players are corners that are good in press coverage, why do you continue to play off coverage? I'm just amazed. I mean, somebody give me an answer. Because I've watched 30 years of football. I became a Bucs fan when I was 8 years old. My dad sat me down, and I've been watching football for 30 years, and I've never seen where a defense is better off when you play off coverage, when you play soft, when you play timid. Football is about physicality. I've never played the game consistently. I never played it on the college or the NFL level. But here's what I know. If you play soft or you play timid, you're going to lose more times than not. So, all right, defense started slow, but they did their thing the last half. I agree. They gave us a chance. We couldn't capitalize. Defense is giving us opportunities. I agree. They had some good things today they did in the second half. They definitely shut down the Atlanta Falcons. Jameis Winston has 63 interceptions since 2015. Along with the Giants quarterback, Eli Manning, and also Blake Bortles. If we go through coaching, start looking for a new quarterback if we go through coaching changes. Well, that's an interesting process at this point because you have to see what you have with Jameis Winston. I like Winston. I think he's done a lot in the NFL in a short time. I also don't think it's fair to say that he's always had the greatest offensive line or the weapons, but he has it this year. So let's see what he does, and let's see what the Buccaneer organization goes with. But if the Glazers truly believe in Jameis Winston, which I do think they do, I think they believe in him, then you hire a coach that's going to have some type of relationship, and that's why I tab Jim Harbaugh if it does go south. The season's not over with yet, guys. They can definitely improve on this. They can definitely make some adjustments. Jason Light is a problem as well. He's had his fair share of hits and misses. Absolutely. I mean, a football guy in the place of Joe Glazer. Well, I think you have that with Jason Light. I thought that was your football guy, but, hasn't made very good draft moves. Aguayo in the second round, who the hell would trade up for that? Well, Ed, you know what? At the time, they were desperate for a kicker. You get the kicker that is the most accurate in college, and then for some reason his head goes. Had some head problems. Had some I don't know. I liked the pick at the time, but you know what? You passed up on defensive linemen. You passed up on safeties. You passed up on corners. Hindsight, it's 2020, but it doesn't look good. You're exactly right. Doesn't look good. Neither does Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He's a talent in the NFL. Couldn't make it with the Bucs. That's on Jason Light. Team loss. Not one player. Great efforts. Love the show. I try, Mitchell. I try to make some good points and be interactive with you guys on Bucs Report. I know you got passion like I do. I say 3 things on the sports web. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. You want to call me out? Call me out. But get ready. I'm going to call you back out again. So, all right, let's see. Does Buckner deserve some of the blame with all the additions on the D-line? I think JPP shouldn't be the only one sacking the quarterback. It's a valid point. I think everybody on this coaching staff deserves blame. And, let me be clear. This is a team loss. This wasn't just on Jameis Winston. It wasn't just on the defense. It was on everything. Special teams, defense, offense. It was a total loss for this whole team, and they have to clean up their mistakes. Agree. No new general manager, no new head coach is going to sign off on keeping Winston. Well, that will be something that they will have to address in the offseason. But again, here's a quarterback that did throw his first 2 years in NFL history, the only quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards. He's got a talent, he's got ability, but we talked about it. He has to improve on his decision-making. He didn't do a good job today with the 2 interceptions, especially the one trying to force it to Chris Godwin, and then the other interception over the top. Not good. Now with the sideline dancing, McCoy and Quan did that in the third quarter, eventually bring this defense together and play better down the road. I think wins will bring this team together. Screw all the dancing. How about just win? How about make stops? How about get after the quarterback? If you're not getting sacks, at least get pressure on the quarterback. Whatever it takes, I guess. Mike Smith's defense hasn't been legit since Atlanta when he was a head coach. I didn't think he had a great defense in Atlanta either. I think it was very questionable. I think his best defense was that 5-game winning streak, and that's why he got the extension in the first place. They want their own man. Yeah, I mean, I think, I've heard reports about this that, if something doesn't change eventually, that they're most likely the Glazers would blow everybody out. They would get rid of Dirk Cutter and they would get rid of Mike Smith and they would get rid of Jason Light. Do you want that? Do you want that as a fan base? Do you want to continue to rebuild? Do you want to have, but something has to change. Somebody has to take the accountability. We talk about it every week, accountability for this team. Smith is giving up historically bad numbers. Can't get much worse. It's bad. It's not good. GMC was a gooser on the stat sheet today. Not one tackle, no stats for Dancing Sun. Vinny Curry even played today. Chris, it's a great point. I mean, I'm looking for it to happen. I'm looking for Gerald McCoy to break out, because what did you hear in the offseason? Well, and to a certain degree, I've said the same thing. It hasn't been fair to Gerald McCoy because he necessarily hasn't had a Simeon Rice. Because a lot of people like to compare Gerald McCoy to Warren Sapp, but they're different players. They're different. But when have you had those elite pass rusher around Gerald McCoy? Well, I think JPP is a pretty good pass rusher. And I think Vinny Curry last year had 3.5 sacks, but he's got potential. But they're just not showing up. I mean, and that comes down to effort. And it also comes down to your defensive staff. You have to do stunts. You have to do different things. You just have to make adjustments at this point. Bringing blitzes is all well and good, but if you don't get to the passer, then you basically leave one-on-one coverage again. So it's a lot. It's a lot to dissect at this point with this defense. I mean, I don't know if there's an easy fix at this point. How do you feel Vita did in this game? I thought he made some plays. I saw him make he penetrated on the line. I think I didn't see a lot from Vita Vea, but I think eventually once he gets into football shape and once he understands this defense, he's going to be a lot better off. Look, you may get an opportunity to see Vita Vea next week, because if Gerald McCoy is hurt as bad as it looked on that sideline, maybe it's a good thing to see what you have in Vea. You already know what you have in McCoy. Let's see what you have in Vita Vea and Bo Allen, right? JPP is a beast. I agree. New scheme, defensive, new coordinator. Atlanta's defense under Smith was known as soft. Well, nothing's changed at this point, right, Johnny? Still looks soft to me. G-Mac's best games were under Schiano. No stunts, no scheme, no defense. New England is whooping up on Kansas City 24-9. Big surprise. If you listened to the Sports Web yesterday, I told you that was going to happen. It was all set up. It's like it's like a bad Justin Bieber song or a bad mumble rap song that keeps on playing in your head. The New England Patriots are the team to beat still. They got Tom Brady, they got Bill Belichick, and Kansas City's defense is god-awful. They got Pat Mahomes, but look, you can't win football games like that. We know you can't win shootouts. That's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. Carlton Davis makes a huge difference. It was Carlton Davis. Why did I say Carlton Smith? Carlton Davis. Yeah, I definitely think he makes a huge difference because he gives you that physicality. He plays that press coverage. That's the reason why they drafted him from Auburn, right? How did you like the final play call? I actually thought it was very creative. It was, if it's properly executed and if the ball bounces the right way. And it looks like when Jameis hands it off or throws it back, Adam Humphries has a chance. He can't pick it up. Mike Smith tries to pick it up. He shovels it to Deshaun Jackson, who's wide open. It just wasn't a good enough pass. The ball didn't bounce the right way. It was it's disappointing. It's pretty much disappointing. So, guys, if you don't know what you're watching the live post-game show from the Tan Talk Sports Studios. I'm the host of the only FM sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area on Saturday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 106.1 FM, 1340 AM. Of course, I want to hear from you guys on Saturday afternoons, 727-441-3000 or 866-826-1340, just to give out the number there. Do we pay Quan? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he plays consistent enough. He had 10 tackles today. He played well, but there are times where he's not good on coverage. Not. Could we possibly trade McCoy next offseason? I think that's a definite possibility, Adrian, and I'll tell you why. With the draft of Vita Vea. Why do you draft Vita Vea? Well, obviously, you're thinking that you're maybe possibly moving on. How old is McCoy? Is he 31, 32 years old? That's a possibility, especially with that big-time contract at this point. Let's see. New England, Johnny. New England always ranks the first couple games, and then Belichick sees what the league is doing and adjusts. Absolutely, he does. Let's see. What record do you have the Bucs this season, and how many wins do you need to keep the head coach? I think they need to make the playoffs. I didn't give a number, but I think they could have won. They can win 10 or 11 games, but a lot of things have to fall their way. Good question, Sean. Mitchell, how well are we practicing because the results on the field aren't showing up like they were in the first two games? That's a great question. I don't know. I'm not out at the practices. I wish I was, but I'm not out there. I haven't heard anything at this point. Terrible play call on the last play of the game. You have Evans, Braid, Howard, just throw it up for them to make a play. I mean, it's possible, Ben. Maybe you go with something to the end zone and give your receivers some type of opportunity. But if it's a slow developing play and you go a 5-7 step drop, that's your only play. So you're basically throwing it up. Plus, they had Julio Jones back there. But I understand where you're coming from. Maybe you throw it to the end zone at this point. It's time to replace Brent Grimes next offseason priority. Absolutely, David. I agree with you on that. Whether it's father time or whether it's the injury or whatever it is, he does definitely not look like himself. He looks like he's lost a step or two. G-Mac may want out. Maybe he does. Makes lots of money at this point. Let's see. And we're going long right now because you guys are definitely, the response is there at 27 people. So we're going to go as long as we can go here, and then we're going to end it off because I love the support here at Bucs Report. Thanks a lot for giving me this platform. I really appreciate it. And guys, just keep on tuning in. We'll see what we can do here about getting me more on here, all right? So here we go. Let's see. That play at the end of the game tells the players from the staff that they have no confidence in them. You have Jameis Evans, OJ, and Deshaun on the field. 3 first-round picks, 1 second-round pick in Deshaun. That play call sends a bad message. I don't know. I mean, what can you do on that last play? I mean, really, you're going to throw it up, take your chances. I like the play call, to tell you the truth. I just don't like the execution of it. And I think you're one bad bounce away for Deshaun Jackson having that ball and going into the end zone for the touchdown. If we don't re-sign Winston, who do you see at quarterback? Well, if you don't re-sign Winston, you could maybe go with Fitzpatrick for another year or Griffin. It depends on if you're changing coaches. If you don't re-sign Winston, then I'm thinking either the new administration is going a different direction and Winston is not their guy and you want to get the guy. I could see a veteran. I could see maybe keeping Fitzpatrick. I don't know. That's way in the future at this point. Let's see what they do during the season. Vea is no McCoy as far as athleticism. If we stay, keep him. I would like to see more McCoy. I like to see him more. I would like to see him more in that backfield, doing what he does best, which is trying to cause havoc and have those penetration plays where he blows up the play and it gives the other guys opportunities. When will the Buccaneer organization get it? Look, they're 2-3. I mean, again, the season's not over with. They have an opportunity to go 3-3 against the Cleveland Browns. You would like to see this defense play better. You would like to see the turnovers and the missed opportunities, but they're not a great team. They weren't a great team today. the first 2 games of the season. They didn't do a lot of the things they did these last 3 losses. That's the key. Yes, I do have them winning against the Browns, although it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be tough because of the matchup with Myles Garrett. That scares the hell out of me because he's a guy that's a game wrecker. But do I have them beating the Browns? Yes, I think they can beat the Browns. Have you seen Vita? He's the most physical player on the team. I haven't seen enough of it. We should have drafted Derwin James or Mika Fitzpatrick. Maybe. But how do you know how Mike Smith uses those safeties? Does he use them correctly? Do you think Justin Evans and Whitehead are bad safeties, or do you think it's scheme? What is it, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Definitely Derwin James has played out of his mind for the San Diego Chargers. I haven't heard how Fitzpatrick has been playing for the Dolphins. But, I mean, it's just you sit here and you look at it from the standpoint of all the offensive weapons the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. That you've got defensive talent. We talk about Levante David and Quan Alexander and Gerald McCoy and JPP and proven players. And I get it, they have rookies. But again, you have to put out a better effort in the first half. You can't get down 24-13. You can't give up that field goal when you have the momentum before the half. You can't play soft. You can't be not physical. You have to be better than that. Somebody has to take the accountability on this team. So if we get rid of Smith and do coach, I will have more faith. Offense, I believe, is ready. I don't think the offense is the problem. The problem with the offense is the turnover situation. That's the problem. I'm okay with Vay pick now. Defense always starts up front. We need a replacement for McCoy eventually. I agree. I agree. It all starts up front. And if you're not getting the consistent pass rush that you were looking for at the beginning of the season, then that's a problem. Micah is balling. Okay. The simple fact, we need a safety. We made enough moves in the offseason to address the line. It would have been nice if they would have addressed the quarterback situation in free agency too, but didn't do it. Went the draft route, went with young guys, and there's some growing pains at this point. So, but again, you got Ryan Smith playing today. You thought that Carlton Davis was going to play, and he didn't. So, at this point. So, guys, I tell you what, we've been going long here. I love the interaction. Keep on texting in. I'll go ahead and answer your questions. Next week, join me and Leo Haggerty out at One Buccaneer Place, and also after the game on the field, about 15 to 30 minutes. This has been the Sports Web post-game show from the Tan Talk Sports Network. Bucs fall to the Atlanta Falcons, 34-29. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. We'll see you later.